If you're trying to decide which type of Pilates to take, there's so many different styles out there now. It can be really overwhelming to make sense of it all. But it's really important to understand the differences so you can make an informed decision about your health and wellness. And that's what this video is all about. So first off, I think it's important to understand why there's so many different styles of Pilates. Well, in the year 2000, there was a court case that ruled that no one owns the name Pilates. The judge decided it is a generic term for a style of exercises like karate or yoga. Anyone can use the name Pilates and teach it however they wish without needing permission from a company or an individual. This made Pilates accessible to more people and instructors everywhere, and Pilates blossomed and evolved into a global movement, inspiring countless lives. But that also meant teachers could branch out from the original method because nobody could tell them otherwise. This is both a good thing because the person who tried to claim that he owned Pilates had no right to. Joe Pilates didn't set up a plan for his legacy of his method. He didn't pick a single person to be in charge of the Pilates method and how it was taught after he died. He actually called it Contrology. It only became known as Pilates after Joe Pilates died. But it's also a bad thing that nobody's overseeing it. And I'll get to that a little bit later in the video and tell you why I think it's also a bad thing. First of all, the most important thing to understand is that Pilates can be split into two main categories: classical Pilates and contemporary Pilates. A classical Pilates teacher means that teacher stays true to the original method created by Joseph Pilates himself. It is tried, tested, and works, and has been around for over 100 years. Within the classical method, there might be some small variants based on lineage. And what I mean by lineage is they were what we call first generation teachers, meaning they trained directly with Joe Pilates himself. After Joe died, they dropped the name Contrology and everybody just started calling it Pilates. There are the first generation teachers who we know were certified by Joe himself. And then there are first generation teachers who were mentored by Joe. Not certified, but they knew the method well enough so that they could go out and start teaching it. Each teacher might have a slightly different flair to how they teach or how they've trained teachers to teach Pilates. So how do you know if a teacher is classical or contemporary? Ask them what their training is and the lineage. But here's some easy signs to know if a teacher is classical or not. The Mat and Reformer follow a sequence that doesn't change. There's purpose to the order. It was carefully constructed over many years by Joe. Classical teachers understand why the sequence is in place and they respect it. A classical studio will use all the apparatus, or at least most of it, whatever they have available. Mat, Reformer, Cadillacs, chairs, barrels, props, and more. If a studio's only teaching Reformer classes, it's not classical Pilates. Why? Because Pilates is a system that incorporates multiple different pieces of apparatus to teach your body how to move. The Reformer is great, but it's only like a fraction of the Pilates method. Classical teachers use the original apparatus designed by Joe specifically for his exercises. There are different companies who make the classical apparatus now, but they follow the same basic design as the original apparatus that Joe Pilates created. Every detail of the design matters. He spent just as much time refining his apparatus as he did his exercises and the order that they are done in over his entire life. I'll leave a link in the description below for my resources page that has a list of places that you can buy classical apparatus from so you can see what it looks like for yourself. Now, I will note that sometimes you might find a studio or teacher who doesn't have access to classical apparatus. And some of the contemporary equipment is usable for the classical method. It's not ideal, but it can work. Sometimes you've just got to deal with what you have available. So just something to be aware of. A classical Pilates teacher will always focus on working from your center. If they aren't talking about moving from your center, your powerhouse, your core, then you're just not even doing Pilates at all. Full disclosure, I am a classical teacher. I was certified in 2007 by a Romana-based classical lineage, and then I did a highly selective graduate program called The Work at Vintage Pilates back in 2018, which was for teachers who are already certified and experienced, where I was mentored by Jay Grimes, making me a second-generation teacher. Jay did an incredible job at staying really true to Joe's original method and at teaching us why it's so important to stay true to the method, to truly understand how to use Joe's system to make huge transformations in a broken body and bring it back into balance. Now, before somebody gets mad at me, I'm not here to poo-poo all over contemporary Pilates. I'm here to explain the big picture of how to make sense of the current Pilates movement. But I would be amiss if I didn't tell you that Joe created a perfect system that doesn't need any adjusting. He was a genius who was ahead of his time. Science is finally catching up and proving that Pilates is beneficial for us in so many ways. Joe refined his method over his lifetime. And that is why classical Pilates has stood the test of time and is still here today, changing bodies and making people's lives better. The classical method is accessible to everybody, old, young, healthy, or injured clients. Joe created a system that can be adapted to the body in front of the teacher, as long, and this is a really important part, the teacher has the classical training and truly understands how to use the classical system. It takes years and experience working with bodies to truly understand how to use the system and not just teach exercises. I'm gonna say that one more time to be clear. Pilates isn't a bunch of exercises, it's a system. Knowing the Pilates exercises doesn't mean that you understand the Pilates method. Okay, so let's get to contemporary Pilates. Contemporary Pilates is Pilates-inspired exercises that introduce new exercises and variations that someone else came up with, not Joe Pilates. And some new equipment, not designed by Joe Pilates, but inspired by Joe. Contemporary Pilates has been around for a while, since about the late 60s, early 70s, all the way back to some first-generation teachers like Ron Fletcher. He started to get creative with Pilates, more so than any other first-generation teacher, I think. And he fused modern dance with Pilates. He essentially created his own method called Fletcher Pilates. Now, within this contemporary Pilates category, things can really range from methods that might look similar to classical Pilates exercises and done on apparatus that looks very similar, to methods that you can't even see the original exercises anymore. But remember, they can use the name Pilates for marketing because the judicial system says they can. As Pilates is adapted and modified more and more, the method's effectiveness can become diluted or watered down, losing some of the benefits and the understanding of the system that Joseph Pilates originally designed, which can result in a less impactful practice. Did you ever play broken telephone as a kid where you'll sit in a line and the first person whispers to the next, to the next, to the next, and by the time you reach the end of the line, it's like hilarious how distorted the message has become? This is unfortunately what we are seeing, especially on this side of the contemporary Pilates category, and it's not funny. It becomes dangerous, and this is when people start getting hurt because you have teachers being certified with very few hours of training from teachers who haven't taken the time to really study the classical method before making up their own versions. Now, they can be very good contemporary teachers that are very knowledgeable on the body and understand how to work with injured clients. Some of the contemporary exercises are good exercises, but something that I want to make sure I make very clear in this video is real Pilates is a method, not just exercises. Remember when I said I thought it was a bad thing that Joe didn't pick a person to be in charge of his legacy and how it was taught? This is why. Because at what point in this range of contemporary have people completely lost sight of what Pilates is? There are so many Pilates trends out there now. Some are already fading and others for sure will. Like pole Pilates. Do you remember this trend? Fusing pole dancing with Pilates. Now, pole dancing is fun. It requires a lot of upper body strength, and I've done it and I loved it. It was super fun. But pole Pilates is not Pilates, and you will not get the benefits of Pilates from taking pole Pilates. And then there's this new trend that came out in the last year, wall Pilates. Now, there are great classical Pilates exercises that are done on the wall, but this is a tiny fraction of the Pilates method. Someone just made up some more exercises on the wall inspired by Pilates. You can't possibly reap the benefits of the Pilates system by just doing exercises on the wall. Trends are short-lived fads that prioritize novelty over substance. They don't deliver lasting benefits. The authentic Pilates method, however, will prevail because it is a highly effective, time-tested system rooted in precise principles and holistic body and mind integration that consistently delivers real results. Now, I personally believe that not everything in this range should be called Pilates. Even Joe Pilates was inspired by other forms of exercise and movement, but he gave his method its own name. I think it's really confused people about what Pilates is because this contemporary range has just gone too far. Whether you choose classical or contemporary Pilates, doing safe exercise with a knowledgeable teacher you like and respect is key. And I'd rather you did safe contemporary Pilates than trendy, dangerous Pilates. But here's my list of things to avoid at all costs within the contemporary Pilates category. Studios using music, flashing lights like you're in a nightclub, or flashy moves. Pilates should be controlled, precise, and mindful movement. You can't possibly get that in a nightclub environment with a teacher yelling at you. Avoid teachers who don't know their Pilates lineage. If they don't know their Pilates lineage, they aren't teaching anything that resembles Pilates. Stay alert to classes that claim quick fixes. Pilates will create gradual but lasting progress. Just don't do hot Pilates. There's no reason for extreme heat, and it can be very dangerous for some people. Be skeptical of programs that are fusing modalities. This is where the broken down telephone happens. You're getting two watered down versions of things fused together. And here's my list of things to look for in a teacher or a studio who will work safely with you. Look for those who offer personal feedback rather than only group classes with a one-size-fits-all group format. Group classes are fine, but they should include personal feedback. Make sure you're given the opportunity to share your current or past injuries and personal health conditions. Your teacher should take interest in you and your body, and they should be teaching you about your body. And lastly, recognize that authentic Pilates requires patience, consistency, and focus. Real Pilates is hard, and it's not just physical but also mental. It might bring up a bunch of emotions because it works on so many different levels. But I promise you, the benefits are worth it. Let's continue this discussion in the comments. Do you have any more questions about the different styles of Pilates? Or perhaps you're a teacher. Do you have anything to share that I missed? Your comments help me know what other information you're looking to find online and helps me create future videos. And if you are looking to develop a solid classical Pilates practice that you can do at home or take with you as you travel, consider checking out my membership program, the Contrology Hub. An online membership plan designed to help you stay accountable and inspired. As a member, you'll enjoy different perks like weekly curated workout plans and personal feedback from me directly on your phone whenever you need it. To learn more about the Contrology Hub and all my offerings, check out the link below in the description and be sure to sign up for my mailing list so you can receive discount offers to join the Hub. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video from me. And stick around to see some of my workout videos coming up in the end screen. I'll see you next time.